What is going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of the PodGazer Podcast. I'm your host, Star Wars Gazer. I got my man, Commander Jesse, over there yonder. This
Hello, how are we?
You're doing well, man. Doing well. This has been episode in the making, to say the least. Trying to get
Yeah,
not just schedules but time zones, because you are 16 hours ahead, right?
yeah,
Man, so it's 1
yeah,
it's
something like that. Yeah, I'm living in the future.
yeah, right? Not Back to the Future for you. You're part of it. Um, yeah, it's midnight here. What time is it there?
Just ticked over 4:30 in the afternoon on Saturday.
That's crazy. That is really crazy. So,
Mm,
thank you for being here,
yeah,
man. It's gonna be great. I'm looking forward to this conversation. Um, so
yeah.
I
No,
just have a
thank you for
few.
having me, man.
Yeah, absolutely. I just got a few questions for you, and wherever the conversation goes, it goes. I know we were talking about some Topps card stuff, so we can talk about that at the end too. Like I'm all game for everything. So, just as kind of a break the ice question, what got you started into Star Wars, man? Like what got you started down that road?
Yeah, I can't remember like the exact first memory of like when I first picked up, but my first memories of Star Wars, like I'm 24 now, so it would have been when I was about 4 or so. I got shown the original trilogy because that was as Revenge of the Sith still had to come out at that point. So 1 and 2 were out, but I'd seen all the original trilogy and fell in love with Darth Vader at the start. Um, and I don't know if you've seen that interview with George Lucas where he explains why kids love Darth Vader so much because he's
I
got
have
all this.
not.
He just quickly explains because he had like psychologists and that look into it, and it was pretty all just that Vader's got this power that kids. That's what kids want, power. Um,
That's awesome.
and I was like, that makes so much sense now. Thinking back to when I was 4, 5, 6. So yeah, Vader was my very first favorite character, and then eventually moved on to Luke. Um, but a bit more of a niche one was I'm not sure if you're familiar with the Jedi Outcast games with Kyle Katarn and that.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, Jedi Academy, Jedi Outcast 2 with Kyle Katarn, I had on the PC when I was like, 5, 6.
that's awesome.
Playing that with my uncle, and then obviously Luke shows up in that as well. That they're some of like my earliest memories. I remember when my uncle first told me, like, this is when the original trilogy was out, and obviously the prequels were still coming out. It didn't quite click in my head, but when he told me that they made 4, 5, 6 before 1, 2, 3, because I didn't quite understand how the scheduling worked. I
Yep,
remember when he told me that when I was like 5 or 6, I just like skits my mind out. I couldn't
that's
understand it.
hilarious.
Um,
Because
but yeah,
it doesn't make
those are
sense to
sort
a
of
kid.
yeah, it didn't. No, it didn't. I was just used to everything in chronological order. Um, but yeah, those are sort of my earliest memories. And like, yeah, whenever I was like sick or having a bad day, I'd stay home from school or something. I'd do a rerun of the original trilogy on DVD and that. Yeah, I know. Yeah, I can't remember the exact first moment, but just those are my earliest memories. Yeah, when I was sort of 4, 5, 6.
That's cool. Yeah, because I remember
Yeah,
too,
been in love
like
with it ever
you,
since. Yeah.
growing up with it, especially like on a day where I was sick, stayed home from school, like I would binge watch all of it. You know what I mean? Like, here we go, baby. Especially once the prequels were out, I'm like, all six, here we go, binge watch. Like,
Yeah.
yep.
Yeah. Yeah. For
So
sure. For sure.
that's awesome. So you mentioned this is one of my other questions. So since you mentioned it, you
Yeah.
said Luke is your favorite character. So what makes Luke your favorite character, and what made that transition from Darth Vader to Luke?
I'm not sure what exactly sparked the transition, but it went to Luke, probably around when I was 7 or 8. And then since I've sort of grown up and, probably when I was about 12 or so, I always loved the prequels because those were the movies made for kids my age.
Yeah,
But I never quite understood them. There were lots of things in there that confused me. Um, but sort of when I got to that 12, 13 years of age, I sort of started to understand them more. Like, it's a common theme. I can't split Revenge of the Sith and Return of the Jedi as my favorite films. I can't split Luke and Anakin slash Vader as my favorite character. Go hand in hand so well for me. So for Luke, I think as a kid, obviously every kid's got heroes.
for sure.
I think for me, he just gave me a really good moral compass to sort of that sort of gave me the foundations for who I wanted to be when I grew up. Always helping others, doing good deeds, and I suppose trying to avoid the darkness where possible. Um, I think he just gave me a really good moral compass for who I wanted to try and be.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and I suppose on the Anakin front, I probably because I play a lot of like local sport and that. I'm quite passionate and emotional when I play sport and competitive, and so I relate to that side of Anakin a lot. I think, and that sort of comes out in me a lot when I'm playing sport. Um, and so yeah, I suppose it's just the characters I find different parts of me can probably relate to the most.
That's awesome. So
But yeah,
with that, with Luke in that moral compass, like, and I've heard this talked about a lot, right? Luke was
yeah,
able to throw down his weapon in front of his
mm,
enemy, right? And
yeah,
like, I'm not killing this man, my father. Like,
yeah,
that's not how Jedi's work.
yeah.
So with that, and you see the sequel, and you
Mhm.
see like what were your thoughts when you saw that, especially as your favorite character being Luke? I mean, that had to be
Yeah.
kind of devastating.
Yeah, yeah, you summed it up pretty well there. Yeah, no, it was devastating. I I just don't understand. Yeah, it was basically devastating, and I if I don't agree with something, I try and understand it from their point of view at least.
Yeah,
I still struggle with that. I don't understand what they thought, like what the thought process was there that made them think it would be a good idea. Because we've seen him fall and have struggles already in like Empire and things like that.
yep,
So I don't see the need for him because his character arc was like, sort of here and then peaks at return. I don't see the need for it to come crashing back down. Like it's
right,
I don't see the need for that. Um yeah, it did not make sense to me. And then afterwards as well, when you hear like Mark Hamill's saying to Ryan Johnson, this is what Luke would be doing. Like he just didn't take any of it on board either, by the sounds of it, which I think is quite stupid.
yeah, right,
Yeah. I mean, this is Mark Hamill who worked with George Lucas from day dot on Star Wars. You'd think he'd take some of that on board,
right,
but obviously not. Yeah, no, it'll never make sense to me. I'm happy for the people out there. That's a version of Luke they needed to see for them. Happy for them. Um, it's just not what the vast majority I feel wanted to see, needed to see. Doesn't make
yeah,
sense to the story.
yeah.
Yeah, that's always going to be my take on it. So
No, I agree with you. Like they said, you have the guy who's willing to throw down his saber in
mm,
front of his enemy and say, like, I'm not going to kill this guy. A guy that was like, I'm evil, I'm the dark side. And Luke's like, are you sure about that? Because, you know, I
yeah,
don't know. I think there's a little bit left in you, right? And then he goes from that
yeah,
to, oh, I had a bad dream about my nephew. I'm going to kill him. It's like,
mm.
how did.
And yeah, I know. And then Disney going, um, they go and like in the Book of Boba Fett, he's got that scene with Grogu, and he's saying, "Oh, like get up, you always get back up." And
Yep.
even last night, I saw a little excerpt from a comic produced under Disney, and it's Luke saying, "You never fight evil with evil." And it's like, how can they have these couple pieces here, and then they give us that in the sequels? Like they're constantly contradicting themselves and
Yeah.
themselves. Yeah,
Yeah, I was
it
talking with
doesn't make sense.
one of
Yeah,
my friends about that on our Nerds Galore podcast the other night,
yeah,
and he's like, "I don't think they actually think out, like, the whole plot." Like, when you're making a trilogy and stuff, you start like, "Okay, these are our characters, where do we want them to end? Okay, so then where do they start? Okay,
mm,
now how do
yeah,
we get them there?"
hmm,
Right?
yeah,
I think they just go like movie by movie, moment by moment. Like, "Ooh, this would be cool to do." And it's
yeah,
like, "Okay, can we actually take like 10 seconds to think about this?" Like, you're retconning yourself as you're going through these movies. Like,
yeah. I know. Yeah, I've spoken about it on like a podcast I do, the movie pod here in Australia. Um, it seems like I don't understand when you because it seems like and I've spoken about it in podcasts. Like Adam Driver said it recently this year about what the original trajectory for Kylo was going to be. It was meant to mirror Vader, where he
yeah,
starts off, um, you know, really shallow in the dark side, like uncertain, and by the end of episode 9, he's meant to be lost, gone, never coming back.
Yeah.
Whereas obviously in A New Hope, Vader starts off really strong, and you get to return and he redeems himself. But then Ryan Johnson came in and changed it all up. That was Adam Driver's words, and that's what it seems to be. J.J. Abrams started off with something that has potential, and then Ryan Johnson just undid it all. Egos probably got in the way, and then J.J. Abrams was left with, what do I do now for episode 9? Trying to do the best with what he's got.
Yeah.
I don't understand if you're paying 4.12 billion or whatever they paid for Star Wars, and you've got a 10-year project, and George Lucas has even given you his plan for the sequels, like, this is what I was going to do, and he'd started making calls like that, Harry and all that sort of thing, saying, look, we're going to make 3 more. Are you on board? So he'd already
Yeah.
started early days, like laying the foundations for it. Why would you not sit down for months at a time before you start producing this stuff? Fair enough. If you're going to have different directors, that's cool, but get them all in the same room together and map it out. And then, you can
Yep.
combine your visions, and that way everyone's on the same page, and you don't have directors almost competing with each other. Like, that's what it was. JJ did this in 7. Ryan Johnson's going to do what he does in 8. And then JJ Abrams is left to clean up the
Yep.
mess in episode 9. Like, yeah, it was a mess. it
It
was
was.
a mess.
And to see like too, like all if they would have like you said, plan that out, and
Mm,
then you tell George, hey, with this new trilogy, you don't necessarily have to necessarily take over all directing, but
yeah,
we want to see how you work and how
yeah,
you like your process for thinking. So
mhm,
we would like you to be a really integral part of this. So
yeah,
as we're going through this, you can point things out and kind of, and then we get a better idea as we make new trilogy stuff without you,
yeah,
kind of how to do it, where to go, like that kind of thing, and what that process is like.
yeah,
Um, but
yeah.
I think
I've
all they
yeah,
saw was dollar signs, and that's it.
yeah. Yeah. It'll never make sense to me. I'm really happy for the people that watch it, and like it,
Yeah,
it, it does have its little pros. You see little girls dressed up as Daisy Ridley and as Ray, and that's cool.
right.
Like, there's a whole new generation of fans there, and I'm all for that.
Yeah,
I just wish we got a and look, have Ray in it. Just have a better story too, please.
right. Yeah. See, that was the other thing I said at the end of the sequels. For as much as I didn't care for them personally,
Yeah,
at the end when they ask her what her name is, right, and she's like
yeah,
Ray, and I'm like, okay, like pause here. Okay, the last 9 movies, the one enemy you've been fighting, partially because of lazy writing, in my opinion, is Emperor Palpatine. That's been the number one enemy. Okay, if
mm,
she says, I am Ray Palpatine, I am a Jedi Knight, I think that brings everything full circle, right?
yeah,
Now
yeah,
you can do story on Ray and her heritage, where she comes
yeah.
from, all of that. Nope, I'm Ray Skywalker. And I was like, ah.
What was the cinema reaction like for you? Like, even just people in the cinema with you when she said Ray Skywalker.
Most people that I was with and the buddies that I were with, we all went, oh, goodness gracious. Are you kidding me? Like, it
Yeah.
was just a lot of hands and heads
Mm,
and hands, like, what are we doing with our life?
yeah. I remember it will live rent free in my head forever. I remember there was one guy, because I was sitting up towards the back of the cinema. There was one guy towards the front, and he just let out the most audible sigh and groan ever, and just got up and walked out. I will never forget it.
Yeah. We did have one guy that was like, "Are you kidding me? That's the stupidest thing I've ever seen." I was like, "Well, he said what we were all
Yeah,
thinking."
yeah, yeah. He speaks for the people.
Yeah, 100%.
Uh,
So I saw recently you went to a Star Wars comic, or not a Star Wars Comic Con, but a Comic Con.
yeah,
Um,
yep.
and I know, so I've never been to a Comic Con. I'm planning on
Okay, yep.
going to one in March here. So like,
Beautiful.
have you ever been to a state's Comic Con? Or have you ever no? Okay. So what are your Comic Cons like down there? Are they pretty much the same? Or I mean,
Um, from what I've seen, from what you guys get in the States, I was absolutely pale in comparison. Like, you guys
okay.
are very, very fortunate with what you get. Um, so that was the third one I've been to. We've got two main companies, because you guys have what, like Fan Expo. You have a few different companies that do Comic Cons there,
Yeah.
I think. We've got Oz Comic Con and we've got Supernova. So my city gets one of each every year. Oz Comic Con this year in my city didn't actually have anyone from Star Wars, so I didn't bother. going.
Bummer.
But last year we got Emily Swallow, who's obviously the armorer. So and she's
Oh
lovely.
yeah.
She was really cool. Yeah. Um, we normally only get one, maybe two Star Wars people at each. Um,
Okay.
yeah, we got Emily Swallow last year, Oz Comic Con. Then later in the year with Supernova, we got Tamira Morrison. So that was really cool to meet him.
Oh heck yeah.
Yeah, and then this year, as last weekend, we got Anthony Daniels with Supernova. So C3PO, that was really cool.
That's cool.
Um, yeah, I mean they're cool. I go there see who I want to see. Yeah, it's normally the Star Wars person, and there's a couple artists hanging around that have done some stuff with Star Wars comics or movie posters or things like that. So I'll go and have a quick chat to them and get a couple prints off them, that sort of thing. But I'm normally done in the first 2.5, 3 hours. Whereas I know I'm going to, Star Wars Celebration next year. I know I'm going to be there all day, every 3 days, for the whole
Heck
three
yeah.
days. And yeah, I won't be able to get enough of it. But I
No.
know with like your Comic Cons, you guys get most of the cast of Ahsoka and Mandalorian, and you guys get quite a few people there, like most of the Clone Wars main four. Yeah, and obviously Hayden's been doing a bunch this year as well.
Yep.
Yeah, no, you guys are very fortunate with what you get. Yeah, for sure.
That's crazy. You got to look up Star Wars Sith when you go to Japan.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, because I've been speaking to him probably pretty well since I started YouTube about a year and a half or so ago. But I did finally get to interview him about a week or so ago on my channel.
That's cool.
So
Yeah,
yeah, so
yeah.
I finally got to make that connection. So yeah, but yeah, I'll definitely see him next year at in Japan for sure.
That's cool. So like the one that I'm going to is the Planet Comic Con in Kansas City. And actually Star Wars Nerd is flying up to
Yes.
go with me.
Yeah, I did
And
see that.
so
Yes.
he but last year they had Ian McDermott there and it was like $150 to get his auto.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's
Yeah.
pretty cheap for a guy like that. Like,
For sure. For
so
sure.
I'm hoping we get some more Star Wars cast. They also had, is it Giancarlo? What's his last name?
Esposito.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
and there's some
He
other
was meant
guys there too, but
Yeah, he was meant to come to Melbourne here in Australia, in May, June, I think, but I think he cancelled because he had some I think he had something he had to film or something.
dang,
But yeah.
that's a bummer. Yeah. But hopefully it'll be good. I do plan Star Wars Nerd and I both plan to go to ICCC
Beautiful.
with Star Wars Sith next year,
Yeah,
so we'll see.
awesome.
We got to get you to fly out here to the States
Dude, I
soon.
want to so bad. I've been to the States before. I went, in December 2022, so almost 2 years ago now. But yeah, I did Galaxy's Edge and everything in, Disneyland in LA,
Oh,
so
that's cool.
I definitely want to come back for sure. I love my time over in the States, so I'll definitely come back for sure.
Heck yeah,
I'd
we got to plan
yeah,
one.
for sure, man, for sure. I do want to come
That'd
over
be
and
sick.
do a con or two there. That you guys do unreal ones, so yeah.
And I've heard Stith talking that ICCC is actually better than the MegaCon that's in Orlando,
Yeah. Yeah, well, when
which is
I interviewed
crazy.
him when I interviewed him, I was asking him about that, and yeah, he said, ICC C was, yeah, one of his favorites, like yeah, like you said, better than MegaCon. I thought MegaCon was, like, one of the best ones over there.
It's supposed to be, but I think part
Yeah.
of the reason that it's not is it's so huge that
Oh, okay.
sometimes I think like when it gets way too big, it's like okay,
Mhm.
like this is a little much.
Yeah.
Like he said, the ICC, he was waking up in the hotel eating breakfast, and there's Timothy Zahn, there's Warwick Davis, there's all these guys, and he's like sitting there eating, like this is
Oh, that's
crazy.
nuts, yeah.
So
That's
yeah.
nuts.
Okay, so other questions here that are kind
Yeah.
of fun.
Yeah.
If you could have any Jedi or Sith train you from any era, who would it be and why?
That's a great question. If I'll answer both. If it was a Jedi, I'd honestly probably want Anakin because I like it when I love seeing how he pushes Ahsoka because he wants her
Yeah.
to be better than him and things like that. I love how much he pushes her right to the edge. And yeah, that's something I'm all for. So yeah, no, probably definitely Anakin. Um,
Okay.
and because of just how much he cares. I know it's not in line with the Jedi values, but just how much he cares and he takes everything that happens to her so personally.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, it's a real like brother sister sort of connection that a lot of
that's
other
cool.
master and Padawans don't have.
Yeah.
If it was to be a Sith, good one. It's probably a real basic answer, but I'd love to be like a secret assassin for Vader, like that in that Star Killer mold. I would
Yeah,
absolutely love that. And sort of scheming with him to take down the Emperor. I would be all for that.
that's cool. I like
Yeah.
that. That's a good
Yeah.
answer.
Yeah.
That's cool. Um, yeah, I've never really heard. See, for me, I'm a big Obi-Wan Kenobi fan, so for
Yeah.
me, I think
Yeah.
Jedi would be Obi-Wan.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and like for you with Luke and the moral compass, it's the same for me with
Mm,
Obi-Wan. Like he
yeah.
suffered a
Yeah.
lot,
Oh yeah.
and he still kept on that
Yeah.
path.
Yeah.
So
He'd be one of the few that you could say is like a true Jedi for sure.
yeah, so that's awesome. How about this? If you could have any lightsaber, whose would it be and why?
Oh. I really don't want to just give that niche answer because obviously it's and the Skywalker ones, just like the most iconic one. In terms of, I did try and make like a top 10 lightsaber list the other day. It's so hard because I get caught between. I don't want to be like too basic with it, but like Anakin's and Luke's is right up there for me. But if I'm looking for like aesthetic, Mace Windu's is right up there too. He's got
Oh
a
yeah,
beautiful looking saber. Um, Yeah, if I'm looking at dueling as well, because I reckon Obi-Wan's like episode 3 Obi-Wan would hurt. Like you would get so many calluses and that on your hand from that grip. Same with Anakin's.
yeah.
Honestly, Obi-Wan's episode 1, episode 2 one's probably one of the best looking ones as well. That's
Okay,
real comfortable, real easy to hold. I'd probably go with that because if I'm looking for probably a good balance between looking good and actually being able to use it well, probably Obi-Wan's from episode 1 and 2 is probably.
okay,
Yeah, that's probably up there because I reckon that'd be a real comfortable one to use as well.
yeah. I
Yeah.
actually like Obi-Wan's episode 3 with the choked neck on it. I like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Like, I like because it'd make it easier to spin and, like, you,
Yeah.
like, pull force down on it, you know?
Yeah.
I feel like
Have you have have you seen, I think Theory did an interview with the dude who made the original Saber in that, Roger Christian, I think's his name from
Oh, yeah,
memory.
yeah.
And he was talking him through, the materials they used, for Obi-Wan Saber in A New Hope. Do you know that, uh, the neck of it, they used an old grenade?
I didn't
Mm.
know that.
Yeah, I think they
Really?
also had it yeah, I think they also had it in the, do you know those Master Replicas sabers?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they had it in because I think Theory got, Obi-Wan's as well, and they had it in the little booklet for it, just talking about the original saber and that. Yeah, it's made from an old grenade.
Wow.
And then I think some of the other pieces, like the real thin neck, were like just like dish tap washers and things like that.
Dude, you know what's
Mm.
crazy is I watched that documentary on, I don't know if it's on Disney, I think it is, like, the making of Star Wars, and it talks about, like, George Lucas
Yeah,
originally, like,
yeah.
those guys were so flipping creative, it's not even funny, like, all the
I know,
models
that
and the
was so innovative.
scaling and stuff that they did is just crazy.
Mm, yeah. And then you see him filming, like, the opening crawl, it's just on a screen and they're filming it and things like that, like, yeah.
Yeah,
Very,
it's just
very
so
innovative, and then some of the scenes are just paintings and yeah.
yeah, it's so cool.
Mm.
Like the
Yeah,
scene
he
where
was
like Darth Vader shows up and it's like the in return,
yeah,
and it's like
yeah.
shows all the star. It's just a painting. It looks
Yeah,
real,
yeah,
but it's
yeah.
just a painting
I
on a
know.
wall. And I'm like,
Yeah,
how in the world? Like
I know.
that's
Every time that
crazy.
scene pops up, I just focus. I'm like, I'm trying to see if I can see one move or something, but yeah, he
Yeah,
was he was way ahead of his time.
yeah, he was way, way ahead of his time. Well, that's why he waited on the sequels until
Yeah.
his that stuff was ready that he could use it for the prequels. Sorry, the prequels. So,
Yeah.
um, so what is the first Star Wars movie then that you saw in theaters?
Oh, in theaters, Force Awakens, because I was 4 when Revenge came out, so I wasn't
Okay.
quite old enough to go to the cinemas. So yeah, Force Awakens was the first one I saw. Yeah.
Okay.
Mm.
Gotcha. So I'm a little bit older than you. I was
Yeah.
5 when Phantom came out, and so I got to
Yep.
see the
Okay.
Phantom Menace in theaters.
Wow.
That
I'm
was the very
jealous.
first movie I've ever seen in theaters, period.
Oh,
So
that was your debut in the
that
cinemas.
was my debut, and I was, oh man, like that was the debut of all, especially when like Darth Maul lit up that double blade. I was like,
Yeah.
as a 5-year-old, I was like, I didn't know they could do that, like
Oh, that
it
would
was
been
so cool.
unreal. We
I'm
got
hoping they
because obviously what over in America you guys got like a cool 25th anniversary of Phantom this year, didn't you?
no, they didn't do the 25th of Phantom this year. No, not that I know of.
Oh, oh, okay. Because I thought they did it most places over in the states. Like you got your popcorn bucket and the drink and all that.
They might have done it in some of the bigger cities.
Okay,
I'm hoping they bring out Revenge this next year.
they
As the
have to.
20th anniversary. You
Yeah,
think they'd have to. I
they have to
I would
surely.
okay, side note, I would love to see all the apparently George Lucas has a ton of extra scenes and stuff from I wanna see a rated R extended Lucas cut.
Yeah,
I wanna
yeah.
see what happens in that Jedi temple, man. I wanna see the gravity of what Anakin did,
There's
to really get a feel for
yeah.
how dark he was.
Have you seen Theory's interview with? Well, he's done a few, but have you seen any of them with Nick Gillard?
Yes.
Did you see when he was talking? You know the little hologram that Obi-Wan sees when he's in the
Yeah.
temple with Yoda. Did you see when he was talking about how that was originally a bigger scene that wasn't a hologram?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that would have been nuts. Puts a saber through some girl's throat, and yeah, that would have
is
been
holding her there
ridiculous.
by it, like,
Mm,
holding her by the hole in the throat and is like I'm like,
yeah,
"That's insane."
would have been nuts. Would have been
Apparently,
nuts.
Star Wars Nerd was telling us that there's also a scene when he's first marching on the temple. There's like a
Mm,
I don't know if he's like a Jedi temple guard or whatever, sees
yeah.
him coming and is like, "Hey, like, what's going on? What do we" and before he could last thing he remembers is a blade going up through his chin and out through the back of his head. I'm like, "Dude."
Oh, that's the content I want, dude.
Right? I know, same, man. There's also, like, so many scenes that, like, when, Obi-Wan meets Anakin on Mustafar, there's a
Yeah,
I think Nick Gillard released it. When he chokes Padme, he doesn't just
yeah.
choke her, he, like,
Mm,
throws her up against the wall, holds her there, turns, and stares down Obi-Wan, and I'm like,
mm.
"I want that scene," like
I know, that would be nuts. It's like, for May 4th, Australia actually did some good stuff for it because we got on the because May 4th was that Saturday this year? I think it was a Saturday.
I think
So
so.
Saturday, we got the original trilogy in cinemas, and
Okay.
then on the Sunday, we got the prequels. So I spent that weekend in the cinemas, but I finally got to see, I didn't get to see A New Hope, because I had, sport on that day, but I got to see Empire and Return that night, and I got to see the prequels in cinemas. It hit so different in cinemas. It was like I was watching it
It
again for
does.
the first time. It was ridiculous.
So it was cool for me because last year was the 40th anniversary of, Return of the Jedi,
Mm,
and so they brought it back out. I went with my dad and saw it in
yeah,
theaters. You're
awesome.
right. There's nothing like seeing it in theaters. And then the following week, I actually took my oldest son, James. They
Yep,
had Star Wars in concert, and it was Return of the Jedi. So I got to go see Star Wars in concert with him. Dude, that was phenomenal.
awesome.
That was so good.
That's unreal. I know they've done that a couple times here in Australia, but not in my city to my knowledge. But yeah, that would be insane. Live
Yeah,
orchestra watching Star Wars.
dude, it
Insane.
puts a whole new like ordeal to it, when you
Yeah.
I mean they play the 20th Century Fox theme, the whole 9 yards, man. It's
Oh,
just
that's sick.
it's cool. Yeah, it's so cool.
Unreal.
I was as giddy as a little schoolgirl, I'm not gonna lie.
I know, yeah. That's what it feels
Uh,
like. That's what it feels like.
so what is your you said I think you said it, but what is your favorite Star Wars movie?
Favorite Star Wars movie? A tie between Revenge and Return. I cannot split them for
Okay,
the life of me. Cannot split them.
okay. See, I'm tied between Revenge and The Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm a big Empire guy.
Yeah, I think that's almost the general consensus for like the best one of all time. Almost,
Yeah,
it's in everyone's top three for sure. It has to
yeah.
be. Um, Attack of the Clones used to bore me a lot as a kid, like growing up, sort of that 7, 8, 9 range. But as I understood it more, it's become one of my favorites now. It's probably still it's interchangeable with Empire for me, depending on my mood. It's either my third or fourth favorite, but yeah, Attack of the Clones is up there for sure now.
That's cool. Yeah, I'm with you. Attack of the Clones because that would have been 8. Yeah, I was
Yeah,
8 when Attack of the Clones came out. So I was like,
yeah,
I didn't understand the love thing going on. Like,
yeah. Okay,
you
yeah,
know what I mean? Like, I was too
yeah,
young still to kind of understand what was
yeah,
going on there. And
yeah,
then by the time Revenge came out 3 years after that, I was 11 and I was preteen and I was kind of starting to. And then I watched
yeah.
Attack of the Clones again. I'm like, oh, okay.
I remember when I used to watch it. One of the things that confused me the most because I knew the timeline, like I knew it was 10 years after episode 1. Every time they mentioned Sifo Dyas, I always thought that was like another name for Qui-Gon, like how Dooku
Yep,
has Tyrannus as well. That
I
used to
thought the same
that
thing.
confused me so much. And then finally,
Yep,
I just ended up googling it one day when I was like 15, and I was like, okay, this makes so much more sense. And then they did the Clone Wars arc on it as well. But
yep,
yeah, that used to confuse the crap out of me.
yep. And if you actually read, I don't know if you've ever listened to or read the Darth Plagueis novel.
In the middle of reading it right now.
Okay, they
Yeah.
actually go into that a little bit too.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
So you'll get a more of story for that as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's really cool. So so you're currently, how far are you in the Darth Plagueis novel then?
I'm pretty well dead in the middle of it. I've got this horrible habit though, because I got halfway through it because I did a live show with Star Wars Nerd and Darth Christensen reviewing the first half. But I've got this horrible habit where I get halfway through books and then I start another one, or I get distracted, make a video, and then I start another one. So I've got, I think I tallied it up the other day. I think I've got about 5 or so books. I'm like halfway through. So
Oh,
I'm finishing one right now. I'm finishing the Skywalker A Family at War one, and then I'll
okay,
go finish a few others, and then I'll start because I've got so many books here that I just have not finished. I get bits of the way through, make content on them, and then I'll switch to something else, and yeah, it's
that's
brutal.
funny.
It's a brutal cycle, but yeah,
That's funny. I've been like, so here in the States, I'm a mailman,
mm,
so I deliver.
yeah.
So all day
Oh, we
I
love
just
you.
listen.
We love you.
All day, all I do is listen to stuff, podcasts and
Oh,
different
unreal.
things.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, yeah,
Yeah. So I've bought a lot of the Star Wars Legends books on Audible
yeah,
and I'll let them go all day.
yeah.
So this last week I finished book 2 of the Darth Bane series.
Oh,
Oh, dude,
awesome.
it's so good. Darth Bane is so
It's
good.
it's on my wish list. You recommend it, obviously, then?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, you
Yeah,
need to read Darth Bane. Yeah,
yeah.
100%. He is
Awesome.
so
Yeah,
brutal, but it is so good.
yeah. Sweet. Yeah,
So,
it's on my wish list
there's
for sure.
there's one scene. I'll just tell you about this one scene because I got
Yeah,
to
tell
share this.
me. Yeah, do
So
it.
there's a scene where he's like being poisoned, and he's trying to find. There's this battlefield, and
Yeah,
he's on a land speeder trying to find. There's a healer on a planet that he knows about, and so he's trying to like summon the dark side to like
okay.
keep the poison from hitting him. Well, he ends
Yeah,
up succumbing, and it,
yeah.
crashes his land speeder, kind of goes black for a little bit, wakes up to find there's a father and his 3 sons, like 16, 12, and 6 or something like that, and they're scavenging for stuff, stuff, scrap that they can sell, things that they can use to trade with. And the oldest son picks up the lightsaber. He's a crooked hilted lightsaber like Count Dooku, and
Oh,
so he
okay, yeah.
picks up the lightsaber and he's looking at it and he's like, "What's this?" And the father recognizes it and he goes, "Throw it!" And so as the kid goes to throw it, Darth Bane ignites the lightsaber and it goes through the kid's head and the kid drops and Bane calls. And so as this is happening, right, he's trying to use their agony and stuff to draw the dark side to keep him like
Okay, yeah,
invigorating and going. So he calls the lightsaber to himself. As he does, he turns it on and it decapitates the second kid, and he grabs it and he walks up to the father, and the father's got his like youngest son like clutched to his chest and is like, "What have we done to you? We've done nothing to you, like please have
yeah.
mercy, like don't." And Bane's saying through this whole thing, his whole book is, those who beg for mercy don't deserve it. And
Oh
so he
wow.
ends up
Okay.
slaughtering the kid and then slaughters the father. And I'm like, I'm listening to this and I'm like, this is insane.
As you're just putting someone's package on the front doorstep.
100%. I'm like, what
That's
am I listening
nuts.
to?
That's crazy. I
Yeah.
love that. Yeah,
So
no, I definitely need to get that for sure. Cause it's a series of 3, isn't it?
3. Yep. There's Path
Yep,
of Destruction is the first, Rule of
yep.
2, and then I can't remember the third one. But yeah, it's so good. So, so good.
Yeah, I just
Um,
really wanna go into depth on, like, sorta his thinking for introducing the ruler 2 and that sort of thing.
yeah. And it's really cool what his thinking is on that, where he comes
Awesome.
up with that. So,
Sweet.
and you can like see like as he's setting it up, you're like, oh, that's where like Darth Plagueis and Palpatine get this. Like, this is okay. I see.
Yep,
Like,
yep.
I see what's going on. That's cool.
Yeah, okay, cool. Awesome. Yeah, no, it needs to go on my wish list for sure.
Yeah. I always ask this of people that I
Yeah,
interview. If
yep,
you had creative control to do a trilogy,
yep.
what would you do?
I I don't know if you heard Theory's interview with Stuart Beatty on what his
Yes.
treatment of Obi-Wan would have been. I would have loved to have had that as as what we got for Kenobi. I would have absolutely loved that. But if I so is that if I'm coming up with a trilogy with Star Wars in the state it is right now, or
Um,
do I have a bit of wiggle room?
you have a little
Like, can
bit
I
of wiggle
redo
room.
the sequels?
I mean, if you want, if that's what you want to do, redo the sequels. What
I
are
would
you redoing
love
it
to
to?
redo the sequels. Yeah, well, I just remember my, like, gut feel when I think it was Celebration last year when, it got announced that Rey was getting the sequel like, was getting her own movie, and it was gonna be about her training up a new generation of Jedi, and my gut feel was like, "This sucks so much because I would absolutely like, that was meant to be Luke's whole thing. So I would absolutely love a trilogy on, Luke. Because have you read Shadow of the Sith?
I've not, but I've read Heir to the Empire.
Okay, yeah, Shadow of the Sith is very good. It makes the sequels not better, but it doesn't make me hate them quite as much. Um, but we get a scene in there with like Luke, Anakin's Force Ghost saving Luke and things like that. Like it's nuts.
That's
Um,
cool.
so yeah, I'd really love that. But I mean, if we're with the route we're going down now with the Mandoverse and that, I would love a trilogy of movies, covering basically where we've left off in Ahsoka, with Balin chasing the ones. Maybe he's going to find Anakin's replace the father. Um, Leading into Luke and Luke finding out Thrawn's returned, and maybe they might end up having to team up if this
Yeah.
greater threat from this other galaxy in Peridia, you know, comes to fruition and enters our galaxy, we'll call it. Um, yeah, I think that could be a really good trilogy. Because there's so much content there they can dig into. Um, so yeah, with Star Wars in the state that it is right now, I would love a trilogy. Yeah, sort of centered around the Mandoverse and yeah, basically where it's going now.
Yeah.
I can see it being an Avengers Endgame sort of ending. Where we do get literally everyone teaming up, sort of thing. So we get you know Boba and everyone from there. We get Mando, Bo-Katan, Ahsoka, Luke.
That'd be pretty cool.
Um, yeah, yeah, something like that. But we'll see
Yeah.
because that's um like how we hear Ahsoka's voice talking to Rey, and most people assume that means she's dead. But Filoni did say it doesn't actually mean she's dead. She could just be somewhere else. So I reckon she could be on Peridia. She might go back to Peridia. Who knows?
Yeah. Yep. She could
Um,
just be reaching out and doing the across the universe
exactly,
thing like Luke did. Yeah.
exactly. And I mean, if they somehow do an Anakin Force Ghost scene again in that movie, that'd be pretty sick. Because yeah, that Shadow of the Sith bit where you see Anakin come and save him is pretty nuts. I'd love to see that in live action somehow. But
That's cool.
yeah,
I did love the Anakin that we got in the World Between Worlds. That was pretty cool.
That was perfect. They did that so well.
You got the Clone Wars, you got Live Rex, you got Anakin in the Clone Wars, and then when he's like, "Is that what this is about?" And then he like steps forward and he's like, "I gave you an option to live," and then he ignites his lightsaber and it was red, and I'm like, "No!" And he turns around, he's like all Sith, he's like, "Or
Sith
die."
eyes.
I know. I was
And then
like,
she's like, "No,
"What?"
incorrect."
Yeah, that's all he has to say. Incorrect. Like he's a robot. Like
So good.
it
Yeah.
was.
They did that perfectly. They did that very, very
And
well.
I think my favorite like little itty bitty scene was when he kicks her back through into the world between worlds and he's walking through, and you get that he's doing this number and he's
Yeah.
got, the Darth Vader thing behind him. He's like, "You lack conviction," and like
Yeah.
comes
And
up to like take a, oh
yeah.
man, that was
Get
so
the
cool.
X-Goal lightning and Vader flashing in and out. So good. But
Yep.
that scene with him walking away in the Clone Wars and it flashes to Vader and back, that was so
That
good.
was cool too. Yeah,
That was so good.
it was. So
I felt
I
like
was
it,
into,
yeah.
go ahead.
I felt like it was the best feeling I've had like waiting for Star Wars in a long time. I genuinely felt like I used to on Christmas morning or something, waiting for that episode to
Same.
drop because they'll drop in
Yeah.
like 10:30 in the morning for us in Australia, like where I live. Um,
Okay.
yeah, I was genuinely nervous, like excited, nervous going into that episode, and yeah, it delivered. It was so good.
I really like too what they did with like Kanan and what's her face's son when he's sitting there and he's like listening to the waves and he's like, "Can't you hear the
Mm,
lightsabers?" Like,
yeah,
and it's like they made
yeah.
the waves crash like sound like lightsabers and it goes back to Ahsoka and Anakin going
Yeah,
at
no,
it.
that was done really well. I think confused because Hera did eventually. She was able to hear that to an extent, so I wonder if
Yeah.
that's him passing that through to her, sort of thing. Like Jason showing her, like I don't
Yeah.
know if that's their explanation for it, but yeah,
Yeah,
it
that would
was
be really
very well
interesting.
done.
Yeah. Or at least some sense of like, because there are beings who can unknowingly like are partial to the force. They just don't know how to use it or summon it or
Mm,
anything like that and or control it. So
yeah.
I wonder if like it was
Mm.
an instance of she sat, she listened, and like that little bit that she has allowed her to hear it.
Yeah, that's a great point because that was actually one of my favorite episodes besides the obvious ones in Ahsoka was episode 3, where Ahsoka sat down with Sabine. And that
Yeah.
explanation of the Force she gave her was very George Lucas-like,
Yep.
because that was sort of how I'd always interpreted what he was saying, everyone's got the Force, midichlorians just determine your talent level essentially, and basically how
Right.
hard you have to work. Because, if everyone's sensitive to the Force, but, the most basic, might train super hard and their max potential is, maybe
Yeah.
lifting a pen or something.
Yeah.
Whereas, you've got Anakin who can just do stuff without even trying. So
Yeah, and
yeah,
I
I think
think
that was a
perfect
really good
examples of
explanation
that.
for it. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think perfect examples of that is Obi-Wan and Anakin, right? Like
Mm.
Obi-Wan, he didn't have a ton of midichlorians. He had to
Yeah.
work really, really hard for what he had.
Mm.
And like you
Yeah.
said, Anakin had so many and midichlorians that
Yeah.
it came to him like just bam, bam,
Yeah.
bam, bam, bam.
Yeah. For sure. For sure.
So yeah, it's funny. So I interviewed like a little while ago. I interviewed Star
Yeah.
Wars 66 after he went to
Yeah.
ICC.
Yeah.
And I asked him about the same question you did about like the current trilogy, stuff like that. What would you
Yeah.
change? And he said he got to talk to Timothy Zahn at
Yeah.
ICC.
Okay. Yeah.
And I don't know if you've heard this or not, but he
Yeah.
asked him, he's like, "Okay, sequel trilogy, what do you change?" And he goes, "Okay, there's two things that I would change." He goes, "One, when it comes to Rey, she has so much power, and we're always like, how in the world does she have so much power? She's never
Yeah.
trained, whatever. What if you change the story to she was in Luke's academy, she was the best student Luke had. Snoke was out there causing problems, and to draw him out, Luke wiped her memory, stuck her on Jakku, and left her there to try and draw Snoke out of the shadows. And that's why she doesn't remember anything, but she still has all the powers, but she just can't remember why she has all those powers." And I'm like, "Okay, that makes a lot more sense with this, you know?"
Mm.
And then he's like, "As far as Luke goes, they finally find him on the island. I think, that rock he sits on where he's meditating,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think he finally finds Snoke. Snoke is trapped in that rock. And if he leaves that island, Snoke gets out. So what he's doing is he's sacrificially sacrificing himself for the greater good of the galaxy
Okay.
by staying on that island.
Okay. It's
Those are just
definitely a lot better.
yeah,
I think the only thing initially I think I disagree with is I don't think Luke I don't think sticking someone on a random planet to sacrifice them is Luke,
yeah,
but it like all in all, it's still definitely a
yeah.
lot better than what we got for sure.
And I don't know if it
Um,
was necessarily like to sacrifice her. It was more of
yeah,
like they work together, they plan this, and she's like, no, like we
if
need to draw him out.
they planned it together, that tie in a bit more. I think, yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
So, but
But
like
yeah, like I
even just like,
remember
sorry, go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt.
that's right. Um, I think with like I think with like the scene where Ray comes in and is tied up and she's resisting Kylo's attempts to
Yeah,
break into her mind. I don't know if you've seen the explanation, the novel for Force Awakens, but because obviously it doesn't make sense. Like, from that point, she doesn't know anything about the Force. It was a myth
right.
to her, and then all of a sudden she can, resist and then do the same to a stormtrooper.
Yeah,
Um, the explanation they give in the novelization is that when she resisted Kylo, she essentially downloaded uh, that trick, like his force knowledge, and then she was able to do that to a stormtrooper. That was the explanation you get in the novel, and it's stupid.
it
It is
is.
so stupid.
That's not how that works. Like that takes years
No,
of
it's not.
learning the
It's
Force,
not at
and
all.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's
But obviously, her midichlorian count would probably be, quite decent considering she's a Palpatine. But
yeah.
at the same time, that is still a ridiculous explanation. Like, you can't do that without knowing what it is.
I'll be honest, I thought a cooler story was when Finn had the lightsaber, he used to be a stormtrooper. You find out he's actually got
Yeah.
like small force abilities and stuff, and like,
Mm.
like I thought that like when they first started going that direction, I'm like, okay, this kind of might be cool. You have a stormtrooper who doesn't agree
Yeah.
with what they're doing. He finds this
Yeah.
lightsaber. He's kind of got a little bit of ability here. Like
Yeah.
I was like, I can
Yeah.
go
No,
for this.
I think that's my biggest hope for the Rey movie too, is that John Boyega comes back and he finally gets that Jedi treatment that he should have gotten in the sequels. Like, it makes no sense that he didn't.
Yeah,
Especially when you're teasing it a lot through the Force Awakens, but you're teasing it through the whole trilogy. Um, but yeah, it was just so poorly done.
it
It was so
was.
poorly done.
It was, and now you have like writers that are walking off set or walking out because they just like I call her Darth Kennedy over there is
Yeah,
like what are you doing taking a writer like especially one that's made a lot of really good movies and making red letter marks on his stuff like
yeah,
unless it's like I could see like a few here and there if it's for continuity's sake
yeah,
like hey this is where we want to go like these few things just like if you could just make them line up we're golden
yeah.
but like I heard it was like oh like a couple times over that she kept writing and I'm like what are you doing like leave him alone like
Apparently, I was reading an article today by that Jeff Snyder, and he was saying he thinks they've hired a fifth because obviously the fourth writer walked out a week ago or something.
yeah
He said he's pretty sure they've hired a fifth. He just doesn't know who it is at the moment. So yeah, they're up to their fifth writer now for that. So
yeah
that'll be interesting.
I yesterday I did actually a Star Wars nerd and I did a live thing. I
Yeah,
think it's Kinberg is his name. Is it James
yeah.
Kinberg? No,
Simon Kinberg. Yeah,
Simon Kinberg. Yeah,
yeah,
and he's done. I mean, he's done the X-Men series. He's done the Sherlock Holmes with
yeah.
Robert Downey Jr. He's done the Deadpool and Wolverine movies. Like he's
Hmm.
done some really good movies.
Yeah,
So like that aspect, I told him I'm really excited, but I have one big hesitation, and that's Darth
yeah,
Kennedy.
yeah.
I just don't trust it.
Mm. I think I saw he worked on Rebels as well, and he
Yes.
consulted with JJ on the Force Awakens.
Yes. Yep.
So he's done he's done a couple things with Star Wars. I'm not familiar with a lot of his stuff outside of Star Wars. Like, I haven't really seen a lot of the X-Men movies. I'd seen Deadpool that he worked on, obviously, but yeah, I haven't seen a lot of his stuff. What do you think of his films? I'm assuming you've seen a few.
Yeah.
I saw a lot of other people saying they can be quite hit and miss.
I liked most of his films. There's a few
What's your
X-Men
take?
movies.
Yeah.
There's a few X-Men movies that are a little odd. Um,
Yeah.
but in my opinion, but like the Sherlock Holmes movies, like they were all really, really well done. Like I don't know if you've ever seen those or
Okay,
not.
yeah. No,
Um,
I haven't, no.
oh man, if you get a chance with those Sherlock Holmes movies with Robert Downey Jr., I think you'd love
Yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah.
It's really, really well
Okay.
done. The plot is amazing. It takes you
Yeah.
on twists and turns that you don't see
Okay.
coming. Like it's
Yeah.
really, really good. So I mean, for the most part, I would say like 95 to 98% of what he does is really good.
Yeah.
There's a few stragglers
Okay.
out there. People are right, but
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think
yeah.
every director is going to have a few stragglers out there.
Yeah, he can't be perfect every time, yeah.
Right. So, um,
Okay.
I'm excited for him being
Yeah,
there.
okay, cool.
Now, personally, I know they're probably going. It sounds like they're going with the Ray thing. I would like them just to be done with the Ray Skywalker saga crap,
Yeah.
and let's move on and do something fresh, right?
Yeah,
Let's do
okay, yeah.
something new for the Star Wars universe.
Yeah.
I would love to see like a High Republic,
Okay.
kind of thing. I think that would be
Yeah.
cool.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not super familiar with the High Republic era. I know they've obviously got their own books, their own comics, that sort of thing. But yeah, I'm not super familiar with it.
I am excited to see. It sounds like James Mangold is still doing the Dawn of the Jedi, and
Mm.
I want to see that a lot.
Yeah. No, I'm keen for that story.
So, um, so what? Just kind of a not necessarily Star Wars question, but what got you started on the YouTube side of things?
Um, I dabbled in like content creation and that in sort of like my teenage years and that. But nothing too serious. I'd do it for a couple months, if that, and get bored or not be as motivated anymore. And it wasn't with Star Wars, it was with, like gaming, like every teenager these days, they give it a crack. Um, but I think I made an Instagram account just so I could sort of separate my Star Wars and personal stuff. I made an Instagram account for my Star Wars stuff maybe February last year.
Okay.
And that was I remember I think in December, so like 2 months prior to that was when rumors started coming out about Hayden having been spotted in his Revenge of the Sith outfit on a
Ooh,
Mustafar type planet.
yeah.
And so I made a couple Instagram posts just about basically about my theories of, what could happen in Ahsoka if, this is true and that sort of thing.
Okay.
Um and I'd sort of wanted to get back into YouTube. I just didn't know how motivated I would be. Um And yeah, I posted the theories and I got maybe a comment or two comments and I sort of chatted to those people about it, and just talking about Star Wars like with other people is like super motivating for me. Like
I feel that.
every like yeah, and I sort of got to the point where I knew they were never gonna say it to me, but like people at work and that, like if they said they like Star Wars, I would chew their ear off about it for hours, like talk about everything and anything.
Mhm.
Anytime there was Star Wars news or leaks, I'd bring it up with them, and like I just knew they were getting sick of it. So I was like, I gotta find other people to talk to this about.
That's
So I was like,
hilarious.
I think I put a poll up on my story on Instagram just saying like, should I turn this Ahsoka Anakin theory into like a video? And I think I got like a couple yeses. And so yeah, I made a video. I think that was my first video. I'm just on my channel. I think that was my first video I made, however long ago that was. Yeah, well, it says a year ago here, but yeah, it was probably I don't know, I posted it maybe March, April last year.
Okay.
It did really well at the time. Like I think it got a couple hundred views in the first day or two, and I was like, okay, this is like it's the most views I'd ever had on a video, but like from back when I was dabbling in YouTube and that sort of thing. So I thought that was really cool, and I was getting comments and replying and interacting and getting other people's takes on it, and yeah, that was just super motivating for me. And yeah, that was what started it all.
That's cool. That's
I'd
cool.
watched Star Wars Theory for quite a few years as well, and um, yeah, I just loved engaging with other people about Star Wars and that sort of thing. So
Yeah.
yeah, that
I've
was pretty
been
much it.
I've been subscribed to Star Wars Theory since he first started. Like when I
When
remember
was
when
that? It was
he
back in what, 2017? Was it
2016.
2016? Okay.
2016, and it was when everybody started speculating about who is Snoke,
Yeah.
and he
Yeah.
came out with his video about what
Yeah.
it was, and that's where it all started.
Yeah,
And
that
I
was the
remember
big one,
seeing
wasn't it?
that. Yeah. So, yeah, I don't know. Um, what as you I know we've talked about it a little bit, but as you look at
Yeah.
the state of Disney Star Wars now, like, how do you feel about it?
Mhm.
Is there anything that you're excited for coming up?
Yeah.
Or are you just kind of
Um, I've sorta I actually spoke about it on a video I recorded today. It'll come out a bit later tonight. I think, especially after what Acolyte was, that was the worst I'd seen the fan base in, like, since The Last Jedi. That was horrible.
yeah,
Um, I think, pretty well, yeah, what I said on the video that I did today, I was pretty well saying the fan base or like majority, because I know there were people out there that like the Acolyte, and once again, like, stoked for you guys. It just wasn't it. I could see what they kind of tried to do. They just missed. I appreciated what they were trying to do, and like the references to Legends lore and that sort of thing. I thought was really cool. That was probably the best like choreography we've had in the Disney era.
yeah,
In terms of the fights and that, I thought that was really cool. But just the overall, yeah, story and what happened, the agendas and all that are on display. I just think it was a real miss, and you can see what it did to the fan base. And I think the lasting effect is a lot of the fan base is sort of off to the side now. Like they don't feel on board with Star Wars,
mm,
and I think you're sort of seeing that with Skeleton Crew that's coming out like in less than a month, in like 3 weeks. Um, it's like it's not hyped at the moment. It's not hyped. I really want it to do well, especially given the era that it's in. Um, in that Mandoverse, I think it should be more hyped because we who knows what it could lead to.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, so what I was sort of thinking is, and I know it's really basic, but I think they just need a project that can really ground them, and they know is going to get a lot of fans on board, even though it's super basic. Because I know, like yourself said, a lot of people do want these fresh stories outside the scope of the Skywalker saga, and I do agree with that to an extent. But I think what Disney need to do for an upcoming project, just something that's safe for them, that they know a lot of fans are going to enjoy, is going to be something along the lines of give us a project led by Hayden Christensen, and you can incorporate you in that to an extent as well.
yeah,
But give us a Darth Vader project because we've got content. We've obviously got a
yep,
decent amount of content with Vader between Revenge and A New Hope, but there's 19 years there. There is still a lot of uncharted territory. Like you've got the comics, you've got him making a couple appearances in games, you've got the Kenobi series, but there is still a lot of uncharted territory there, and you've got Legends lore you can reference as well with like Dark Lord, The Rise of Darth Vader, and things like that.
yep,
Get a good director on board, get Hayden and Ewan, as executive producers as well. Get Filoni in there, like in a big capacity. Get people like James Lucino on that as a reference as well. But I just think that's something that you can start with and make that sort of like a project to get everyone back on board, sort of thing, and then go from there. Give us, stories that you're coming up with yourselves
yeah,
and things like that. But I just think you need one project to sort of get everyone back on board and get some trust back there because I
yeah,
think the it was becoming undone, but I think the Acolyte was almost like a bomb going off.
yeah.
Um, so I just think you need something, yeah, that can get everyone back on board and get the community sort of back again.
There are two things that I would like to see, and that would
Yeah,
be because they've expressed interest in coming back. Is let's do a limited series Clone Wars live action with Ewan, Hayden, and Samuel Jackson. He wants to come back,
he
right?
does. Yeah,
So you could do a limited series Clone Wars live action with those guys, bring them
yeah,
back.
Yep.
Do a couple like cool stories you haven't seen on the Clone Wars, like
Mm.
something like that. And then when it
Yeah,
comes to
love
Vader,
that,
I
yeah.
agree. Like
Yep.
let's use Vader. Like I would love to see right after Revenge of the Sith. I mean, right after. You have him trying to learn how to
Yep.
use the suit, how to use the force through the suit.
Yeah.
You have Obi-Wan, where is he going? Like what is he doing? Like that would be
Yep.
really cool too.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And, like, comics cover a little bit of that, like, a very tiny piece of that. Um, but yeah, I just think, yeah, Clone Wars live action series is a great idea too. Something like that that can unite, different parts of the fan base that have different interests. You've got people that do just like animation, and obviously the Clone Wars is a big part of that. That can pull them into live action stuff. Um,
Yep.
you've got people from Day Dot who would like love the Clone Wars and things like that. Um, yeah, I think there's a lot of different parts of the fan base a project like that could pull in and you know give them some strong foundations that they can build off and go back to their own stories and things like that, and give us
Yeah.
stuff outside the Skywalker saga scope. But yeah, they just need that one grounding project, I think.
I think you're right. To at least I don't necessarily think that one project will atone for all their sins, but I
No,
think it'll go a long way
it's a
into
starting
atoning.
point. Yeah,
Yeah.
and it will just
Yeah.
be like it's also a message saying, okay, we're listening to you guys now.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And that would be cool.
Mm.
That'd be nice. They could listen. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's sad, but it is what it is.
It is what it is, and I suppose you just gotta try and make the best out of it.
Yeah.
The best out of it as you can, and just go along with what you love. So yeah, I still want to enjoy new stuff, and I find a lot of enjoyment in the most of the games. I'm a huge fan of some of the literature as well. Like the books and the comics have given me some like unreal moments.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but yeah,
Yeah.
it's a
I'm
lot fewer and further between these days.
it is. It's like even with the games, like I was not a big fan of Outlaw.
I haven't
But
even finished it yet,
yeah, I
and
haven't
that's so
either. I
rare
got
for
like
me with a
partway
Star Wars
through it
game.
and I'm like, mm.
Mm,
Um, but I love like the Jedi Fallen Order, the Jedi Survivor games. Those were good. I like those a lot.
unreal. Well
Yeah.
done. Really well done.
I think those were the best video games since The Force Unleashed, in my opinion. Like,
Yeah, no, yeah, no, it'd definitely be up there. Yeah, I'm trying to think
yeah.
what we've gotten in between. There's been like
I mean, we
obviously a
got the
few Lego
remake of
games.
Battlefront 2, which
Yeah.
was odd, but
Did you play the re-release ones this year of the OG ones?
uh-uh.
I loved playing the story mode in that again because that was some of my first Star Wars games when I was like 5, 6 years old. The multiplayer aspect was pretty disappointing because that was what they were really advertising, but that wasn't the reason I was playing. I just wanted to do the story mode in that again, and yeah,
Yeah. I love like
it
I
hit
mean, they brought Tamara Morrison back to do like those journal logs or whatever,
so
talking
good,
about
man.
marching on the temple, like we
Yeah,
knew what we were doing, like all, like so
so
good.
good, so
Yeah.
good.
Man, I spent hours playing that game, hours
I
and
know.
days playing that game.
Yeah, no, it
So
was it was a good throwback.
what's a day in the life in Australia look like compared to the States? I know you've been to
Yeah,
the States, but like I'm just kind of curious what a day over
yeah.
there looks like for you guys.
I mean, I don't think it's too different. I'm trying to think. Like, it's pretty. I mean, I live a pretty boring life. You know, work Monday to Friday, sport, friends, content creation, all that during the week. A normal schedule for me is I sort of work more in the afternoon. So mornings I have free, and then I work. Early afternoon through to the night. Normally at the gym after that. Um, Come home, do a little editing on like a short or something. I'll upload because I in Australia you try and it's a li- it's a little bit harder because for the content creation side because obviously a bulk of the viewers are from the US. So it's trying to sort of sync your schedule to the US to an extent. Um, so like with live streams, I'll normally try and do them in the morning around 9, 10, 11, because that's at a good time for the US viewers. 6 to 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock sort of thing. Um, Shorts I'll normally upload 2 a.m. in the morning for me, so that's as you guys are waking up, early morning sort of thing. Um, so yeah, I try and operate on a US schedule to an extent with content creation and that. Like as we've found out trying to schedule this.
Yes,
Um, yeah, so yeah, I know it's pretty basic, pretty boring, but I enjoy it. It's work, gym, sport, Star Wars.
that's cool.
That's
I like that.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's cool. If I might ask, what do you do over there for work?
So I work in a factory on a farm where we make our own like jams, sauces, condiments, that sort of
Oh, that's
thing.
cool.
Um, so yeah, so yeah, um, yeah,
That's
I
cool.
cook it, so get your name put on the jars, and it goes around the country, around the world, that sort of thing. So I always get photos from friends who live like interstate and that, like if they see my name on a jar and that in the store. Um, but yeah, yeah, no, it's not too bad, not too bad.
I love it. Is that
Yeah,
that I just noticed that Darth Vader helmet behind you. Is that a Black Series?
that's the Black Series.
That's
Yeah, yeah, that's
that's
the
sweet.
newer one, like the Kenobi one. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, so
Heck yeah.
I've got 2 Black Series ones. I've got that one, and then just up there, I've got a Commander. He was Commander Rex, but Captain Rex one. And have you seen the photo of my mate is getting into 3D printing quite heavily, so he made a Commander Jesse one for me.
Ooh,
I'm not sure if you've seen the
that's cool.
photo. I'll
I
grab it
don't
real
think I
quick.
have. Yeah, yeah. Let's see this.
So he did this all for free for me as well because it was basically just him experimenting, seeing if he could do a helmet, and he did quite well.
Dude, that's cool.
He did very well.
Wow, did he
Yeah,
paint it
no,
or did you
smashed it.
paint it?
No, he painted it. He did everything. Did everything.
Holy crap, that's good.
The last bit we're waiting on. Yeah, the last bit we're waiting on was just the visor. So we just got like a welding mask off Amazon and took the visor out of that.
That's
But
awesome.
yeah, no, did a very good job. Yeah, yeah.
My buddy did a really small scale one for me. It was supposed to be the Mandalorian, but being that Boba Fett's my favorite character, I painted him as
Yes,
Boba
sick.
Fett. So yeah, it's cool what those
Yeah, no,
3D
unreal.
printers can do. It's unreal.
I know. Yeah, the very first thing he made for me, he's like, "Do you want me to make you something?" I was like, "Oh," I was like, "Oh, you can make me." I was like, "Just." He wanted to make some guns or something. I was like, "Oh, you can make me like Rex's blasters." So he made me the pistols,
What,
weathered them and everything as well.
dude?
Yeah, did very cool. Done a very good job.
Holy crap, that's really well done.
Mm. Also goes well with Commander Jesse because obviously they're the same pistols. But
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. So because I also like I've known him since high school. Um, but I also work with him now too. So he's getting a bunch of people asking him for helmets. Like he's got another guy I work with. He's doing a Republic Commando one for him. A couple other guys are getting him to do like Halo helmets and that. So yeah,
that's cool. Those projects take a long time.
they do. They do. He's fallen into the deep end too. I think he's got 2 or 3 printers. He's got a resin one now too. He's got a little setup out in his shed out the back of his
Wow.
house. He's fallen into the deep end with it.
Wow. I mean,
Yeah.
that's cool though that you can just kind of make
Yeah.
whatever you want. I got a buddy up here who's a farmer and
Yeah.
he's got a 3D printer and
Yeah.
he needed new gears for his tractor and he
Yeah.
literally 3D printed his own gears. I'm
Yeah.
like, that's legit.
So cool. Yeah. They just make little they just make little handy things you wouldn't be able to buy in a store like to specific measurements and things
Yeah,
like that. So super, super handy. Yeah.
that's cool. I don't have anything else for you. Do you have anything you want to talk about?
Um I think we covered a good amount. Obviously, yeah, like the tops cards, you're starting to get into them. Um,
Yes, we can talk about that
yeah,
actually a little bit too.
yeah,
Yeah. I
yeah.
forgot
The
about
tops
that. Yeah,
cards,
yeah.
Yeah, like I've always had an interest in like sports cards, and I mean trading cards, but always to the sports end of the scope. But I've sort of dabbled in Star Wars cards a little bit. So obviously I was showing you before the recording. I've got Bibble, we've got the voice of Valorum from the Clone Wars. We've got BB-8,
Love
and
it.
we've got Morgan Elsbeth as well. And then they chucked in a couple packs of like base cards and that look pretty cool. But yeah, these tops ones that a lot of people are opening at the moment look insanely cool. Especially some of the artist ones with like Anakin. You get the two different scenes sort of thing. It looks insane.
Yeah, Star Wars Sith actually opened a pack tonight on Battle Packs. That
Yeah.
let me see if I can pull this up here real quick. It was insane when he pulled it. When he pulled it, I was like, dude, there's no way, man, that you just
Yeah.
pulled this. Let's see. I can pull this up here now.
Just going through the base cards I've got, seeing if there's actually any cool ones in there. I mean, that's probably one of my favorites, just that moment, Anakin's fall from grace.
Oh, yep. Yep. It's not going to let me pull it up here, but he pulled like a can't remember what number out of 50 in the world, but it's like I think it's a Mojo, but it's Anakin with his red bladed saber.
Oh, I think I did
It's
see that
really
photo.
cool. It's so cool.
Yeah. Some of those artist cards look insane. I don't think I've actually seen a shadow box one though. But yeah, no, they look crazy.
I might be able to pull that up. Let's see. Let's see. Nope, that's not what I wanted. Let's see. Trying to see if because I think I took a picture of the shadow box I got.
Yeah. I'd love to see one, yeah. I know in like basketball cards they do their own version of like shadow box autos and that sort of thing. I just want to see what the Star Wars ones look like.
Yeah. Yep, here it is. Okay. I'll share my screen here. The pictures are going to be a little fuzzy, but
that's all right.
Here we go. Share that. There we go. So I got a Mace Windu red wave there.
Oh wow! Yes, wait.
And then there's the shadow box up front there. Darth Vader's tie there. Some of the cards I got.
Yeah, they look
got
awesome.
Battle packs there.
Yes.
So that was cool. That was super, super cool to pull that.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Like that night I kept pulling cards. Oh, here we go. Here's my my 20 or 43 out of 50 Darth Vader. A bunch of people like, dude, you want to sell that? I'm like, no, I want to see this in person before I even think about selling it.
Oh wow. Oh, that's such a sick shot as well.
Right?
That's crazy.
I think it's called Vengeful Pursuit.
Oh, that's sick.
Right? Oh man.
Oh, that's so good.
When he pulled these cards, I'm like, there's no flipping way I just pulled all these cards.
Yeah. That's unreal.
Oh, here we go. Here's a better picture actually of that shadow box one. Real quick.
Yeah, okay.
A little bit clearer, at least on my end.
Oh yeah, yep.
So
yeah, that's crazy. Just sucks with the exchange rate because you sort of get priced out of it a little bit in Australia.
Yeah. So you were telling me this before we went on air about the lightsaber stuff. Like, kind of just tell people the difference because this is crazy, guys. Like,
so actually, sorry. Your Anakin one the one with the hilt? Sorry, with the light box on it, or is yours the stunt one
mine's
with
a
just the button?
single button.
All right,
So mine was
let me find
I got
this.
the
Oh yeah,
antifree
the
SE.
yep.
Yep, with the Profi
So
36-inch and the prequel
mhm.
font. For me, it cost me $325 here in the
Okay, so
States.
the SE version here in Australia is 651.
That's crazy. It's so much
Mm,
more the exchange rate. Like I never even thought of that. The exchange
yeah,
rate for that stuff.
it does, but he does run sales fairly regularly as well, so it helps a little bit. So like, if he did like his 20% off one, that'd make it 520. Because do you have any of like the Black Series sabers?
I don't.
Yeah, so they're in Australia, they're 500.
Woo.
Mm. And like the Anakin, the one theory saber, I do have the Tusken Slayer one. Um, I think with the sale, I got that for about 420,
Dang.
and so yeah, a little bit cheaper than the Black Series ones, but quality's through the roof, through the
Yeah.
roof.
And you said that one's
And
from Theory Sabers?
yeah,
That's
yeah,
sweet. Do you have it on you by chance?
I do. It's just back there. I'll grab it. Oh, actually,
By the way,
also
I
grab.
love the shirt.
Yeah, it's so good, dude. I love them. Um, so I grabbed. So this is a Black Series Vader one.
Okay.
So I grabbed that one because obviously it's pretty well the same design as the Anakin Episode 2 one. I
Yeah.
don't know if you can really tell, but the difference in size, especially the thickness,
Yeah.
is crazy. Like when I got this one, it just seems so much smaller to me because I'm used to the Black Series ones. And they're so much thicker, like the Acolyte sabers. You notice how they were a lot thicker?
They
It's
were.
I think that's honestly why they did it, just to make it similar to like the Black Series ones. They're so thick compared to um yeah, like the actual one. But
Yeah. That smaller one is more realistic to what they would have had. It
yeah,
fits comfortably
yeah,
in the hand. Like,
mm,
yeah.
yeah. The Black Series hilts look really good. I don't mind the actual look of and design of them. Um, but the saber itself is so crap compared to this. Like yeah,
Yeah.
this is unreal.
I'll tell you what, I remember when I first realized as a kid that Darth Vader's saber is literally just a remake of his episode 2 saber. And
Yeah,
I
yeah.
was like, what? That's so cool. I never noticed
Yeah,
that.
I know. I know. I suppose it probably is a little like you'd assume the Vader one probably is a little bit thicker because he's got a hand with a glove and everything.
Right. He's
But
robotic now. Yeah.
yeah. But
Yep.
yeah. No, it caught me so off guard. If I'll definitely get another Theory Saber one at some stage. I just want to see how it holds up. Yeah, like how thin all of them are, or yeah,
Yeah. They're all super high quality. Like the V1 that I got is the same quality. I paid $165 for that. Same
wow,
quality as Annie's episode 3. I'm like,
that's
this is crazy. Like, no matter what one you buy, you're getting quality. Like,
yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure. And it's so easy to spin. Like this one, wouldn't say is the hardest, like in terms of grip and that, but it's not the most comfortable out of all the saber, like just based on the saber design itself, because you've got a
yeah,
huge light box sticking out there, and the grips are okay,
yeah,
but still super easy to spin, super light. Um, yeah, no, it's pretty insane what he's done.
yeah. It's really cool. I like it a lot.
Mm.
Um, let's see, is this the video here? No, it's this one. So I got, and I'm sure you've seen it, but this is my favorite. I'll share my screen here.
Yeah,
My
yeah.
favorite. Let's see. One of my favorite theory sabers off the Profi with the prequel package here.
Oh, okay, yep.
The
So
I
good,
love that. I love
so
that,
good.
man. I will say so like with the Boba Fett show being Boba Fett's my favorite character, I was not a
Mhm.
fan of that show. They did
Yeah,
him
yeah.
dirty. They did him
Hmm.
really dirty.
Hmm.
But to see him flying the slave again and that one scene where he lets one of those bombs go, I was like, "Ooh!" Like,
You
it's
knew it
gonna
was
do
gonna
it.
happen too. You knew it was
Yeah,
gonna happen too. You were just waiting on it. Oh, the most
yeah,
satisfying sound
it
in Star
is.
Wars by sure,
It
for
is.
sure. It's so
I
good.
love it. But um, I don't have anything else. So, where can everyone go follow you at and check you out?
Yeah, so I'm mainly on YouTube's the big one, Commander Jesse, and then I normally post daily shorts on there as well as Instagram and TikTok, all the same, Commander Jesse CT 557. Um, and then I'm on Twitter as well. Don't post there super regularly though. I keep an eye on it, but not super regular. But yeah, YouTube, Instagram, definitely the main two, and then yeah, normally post on TikTok and don't look at anything on there. But yeah,
Love it. I love it. Guys, don't forget as well in the scroller down here, don't forget to use go to Rebel Scum Apparel, use Star Wars Gazer as your code. You get 15% off your order. Don't forget to sign up for rewards. You get some sweet shirts like I said, Boba
that
Fett's my
looks
favorite.
sick. That's
Yeah, dude.
unreal.
It's a sweet shirt.
Yeah,
They did
that's
really,
awesome.
really well with it. So,
That's sick.
like I said, you use that code, sign up for rewards. Lots of fun, lots of cool teas. Um, Other than that, Commander Jesse, thank you, sir, for joining. And hopefully we can do this again. I would love to interview you again and have you on.
Absolutely, man. No, thank you for having me. It was an absolute pleasure.
Absolutely, man. Everybody, love you all, and may the force be with you always.